Do we have any announcements this evening?
Only 13 days remaining in the school year. Are you ready? Visit the Springford End of the Year webpage for more important end of the year information, including summer dates, summer resources, upcoming events, and the coveted last day of school signs.
Wow, your first night, you already jumped right in. Great job. Public to be heard on agenda items only. Okay, we have one action item. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion second. Any comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we have a presentation this evening. Mr. Kelly.
It's awful quiet in here. Good evening. Members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, moms, dads, staff members. My name is Tom Kelly. I'm the education representative from Zeswitz Music, who happens to be a member of the National Association of Music Merchants. I come before you this evening to bestow quite an honor, again, the NAM Foundation Best Communities for Music Education Award. I have the opportunity to work with the instrumental staff here on a weekly basis. They are tireless in their efforts. They are masters of their discipline. For the moms and dads that are here, you know the hours of rehearsals that you're driving your child back and forth to school. From the administration standpoint, I believe you give these teachers the tools to do their job in an exemplary manner. So this particular award that is given, I'd like to give you a little bit of insight on it, that the NAM Foundation started this particular program 20 years ago. It has gained traction over the years that many school districts across the country actually apply for this. And Ms. Crew here will tell you that it's a rather lengthy application, 32 pages. It goes into great detail, asking questions about the performance opportunities, what facilities you give the students, how many students are involved. And again, between parents, the administration, and the staff, all of those things line up. There are 13,588 school districts in the country. This year, this particular award was only given to 623. That is in the 95th percentile, so congratulations, Springford. Unbelievable job. We all know that music makes you smarter and enriches the lives as we go forward. Years ago, USA Today did a poll of the Fortune 500 company CEOs, and nearly 90% of them were involved in music in some way, shape, or form going forward. You can go to the other end of the spectrum and how music is a stimulus to retirement communities, people that have been sedentary, that have not really had any kind of stimuli in their life, and you put music on, and all of a sudden they get up and they remember. It's brain activity. So again, you giving these teachers the tools, them taking the ball and running with it, and doing a marvelous job is quite an accomplishment. But again, this is community-based. It's not just one entity. It's everybody coming together. So I do have Dr. Roche and or Mr. DeBello, a placard here that, again, I hope that the press kit that is sent out, that everybody gets an opportunity to to print it out and post it all over because, again, it really does make the Spring Ford School District stand out. And it says, the NAM Foundation salutes the Spring Ford Area School District for outstanding support of music education, enriching the lives of children, and advancing student achievement. Congratulations, Spring Ford.
Any of the music teachers that are here, Mr. Jones, please come up. Ms. McGranahan, Ms. Jennings, any other music teachers here, please come up.
Thank you for that presentation. I just want to take a moment to thank our entire music community. I have been involved heavily over the past, 15 years in the music program here and have seen it transform the young ladies and gentlemen, some that are sitting in the audience. I've seen the impact that our music educators in our community have made on our children and on our district, and I love to see how every single chance you guys get, you just step it up, more excellence, more excellence, more excellence. So it's great to see. Thank you.
I just wanted to say real quick that, I want to echo that, is that we have an awesome teaching staff here, music teaching staff here at Spring Ford, and we're thrilled with how they've raised the bar over the years, and our students are performing tremendously. And we've talked about it numerous times about not only competing now, in a just regional, but we're also now competing nationally. And I know talking with Mr. Jones in the past that was one of his big goals too, is to be able to compete nationally. And we're doing that with our marching band, and we're doing it with our color guard now. And I'm proud because even though there's 13,000 plus school districts in the United States, many of those school districts over the years have been cutting their music programs. And we also recently saw Pottstown was going through some budgetary issues, and they were looking at possibly cutting. They haven't, and I hope they don't. I hope they're able to work it out. But that's one of the programs that they're looking at as well, is that they have to. And it seems like every time a school district gets into financial difficulties, that's one of the first programs to go. So we're very proud as a board that we're able to continue to support, and not only support, but expand our music program. And we're thrilled, even when our strings program is ever growing every year, we're thrilled to be able to provide that for our students, because again, you guys are doing an awesome job, which again, we're going to see some presentations this evening, so we're going to turn over to Ms. Jennings.
All right. At this time, would the staff and the members of the middle school indoor color guard come forward to be recognized? Come on, ladies. All the way in the center. Let's go. Sounds like a bunch of wind chimes. Awesome. All right. Some facts about this year's middle school indoor guard. Out of 19 students that you see up here, only 8 are 8th graders. The majority of the indoor guard this year are 7th grade. Over 50% of this year's group didn't know what indoor guard was before August of this current school year. The group logged in 125 hours of practice between January and May, practicing on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings. With those facts in mind, this year, the middle school indoor guard was undefeated in the Cavalcade Indoor Association. They won first place in Cavalcade Championships and Tournament Indoor Chapter Championships. And the middle school indoor guard has finished in first place in championship competition 12 times in the last 6 years. At this time, please join me in congratulating this year's 2019 middle school indoor guard.
Check 1, 2.
And we would like to have each and every one of you just say your name and pass the mic down. If you would please do that. First and last name, yes.
I'm Serenity Dare.
I'm Madison Denuncio.
I'm Grace Clyde.
I'm Sarah Smokowitz.
I'm Karina Frank. I'm Kennedy Dean.
I'm Destiny McAmee.
I'm Ayani Spina.
Becca Riley. Gari Chopra.
Kirsten Ibach.
Taya Rollins.
Alex Saddlemeyer.
Carlene Benjamin.
Jada Benjamin.
Isabella Maslin.
Amanda Mellon.
Betty Bruno. Sophia Lasglow.
Hi, I'm Dawn Platchek. I'm one of the coaches.
I'm Stephanie Deck.
Annette Kiernan.
Gwen McDonald.
And Rachel Murphy.
Once again, thank you, ladies, for your service and your accomplishments. Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jennings, real quick, when did we start that program? Was that like, what, 3 years, 4 years now?
6.
6 years, oh my God, wow.
6 years ago.
6 years.
Yes.
That's great, that's awesome, thank you. Ms. McGranahan,
I'm Emily McGranahan. I'm the high school orchestra director here, and I'd like to call forward Ingrid Chu. She participated, earned her way into district orchestra this past year, and it's been fantastic. She's a senior, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
which instrument does she play? Violin. Was she part of our strings program, do you know?
She plays the violin. Yes, she's in my honors orchestra. She's a fantastic player. She's very good.
Great,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Pardon?
How long has she been in our program? Do you know?
Ingrid, you moved into Springford, correct?
When?
Yes. 6th grade? When did you move in? Yeah. Oh. So were you in I'm sorry, I don't remember you being in 4th grade strings, but she's been here for as long as I can remember. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Jennings, you're back up for a little bit. You got D through H.
Okay, we're going to group these all together. Well, we can do this one at a time, I guess. Actually, I'd like to just group them all together if you don't mind. Unfortunately, Mrs. O'Day could not be here this evening because she is at our senior solo night tonight. So I'm happy to fill in for her with the next group to be recognized. Could the following students please come forward? Senior Peter Boretsky. And you can save the applause for the next four till the end. Juniors, Lauren Kirshner and Rachel Progman, and sophomores, Daniel Mead and Owen Wright. If you would all come forward. All right. 3 of the 5. Congratulations go to these 3 of the 5 high school students who competed against students from 48 other school districts and made it into the District Choir Festival, which was held at Wissahickon High School this past February. On top of all the other music that they had to learn for the choirs in which they participate here at Springford, which is about 40 songs, they learned another 8 pieces on their own to perform at this festival. The music department is proud of these students for their hard work. So at this time, please join me in congratulating these students for their selection and participation in the District 11 Choir Festival this year.
Okay, and then Mr. Jones?
Good evening. My name is Seth Jones, and I'm the band director here at the high school as well as Spring City Elementary. And I'm here tonight to recognize Colleen McDermott, a junior, if she could come on down. Colleen is a junior in our percussion program here. She's in the concert band, the marching band, winter percussion. She does it all. And she was selected this year for PMEA District 11 Band and Orchestra. She competed against students from all of our from all over our area. PMEA District 11 is actually the same size as PIAA District 1. So if anyone's feeling very adventurous and would like to do the Texas model where they unified their music and athletic districts into one organization, that would be super smart and intelligent. But it's 11 for music and it's 1 for athletics. I didn't make that up, but Colleen competed against many students and placed at the top of the percussion section. So she was selected this year for both band and orchestra. She got to spend a weekend doing some awesome orchestral music at Plymouth Whitemarsh High School back in January. And then another weekend out of school at Pottsgrove High School where she participated in district band. And it's highly competitive on percussion auditions. She had to learn 4 different instruments just to audition, to walk into the room. She did so very successfully, is one of our rising stars of the music program, and we are very proud of her. Congratulations, Colleen.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. McDaniel, I know had to run out. They're trying to get the girls softball game in for this evening. It's a big game, so we're going to turn it over to Dr. Corio.
Okay, as Mr. DeBello mentioned, Mr. McDaniel is on the softball field, I think doing his rain dance, I believe. We'll see. Girls are playing district semifinals right now, so we are fortunate, just like every spring and almost every sports season here, to recognize some outstanding achievements here from some of our spring athletic teams. Before we get on to some of the agenda items, I do want to acknowledge a few of our middle school programs for undefeated season. So at this point, under the direction of Coach Amersbach, Mark Morgan, Jerry Hollingsworth, and Nick Lemieux is the girls' middle school track. Any representatives there from girls' middle school track? Yes, please come on up. So these ladies are representing the undefeated girls' middle school track program on a successful season. Congratulations. Just a photo out there.
Rob, do you let them say their names? They let their.
All right, ladies, it's not just photo time. You're going to have to introduce yourselves, all right? So, Coach, pass that mic down. Let the ladies introduce themselves.
Lizzie Wynn.
Ava Butler.
Izzy Royer. Mia Long. Casey Roan.
Sarah Trimble.
Maddie Ritter.
All right, very good. Thank you, ladies. Congratulations.
Great job.
Congratulations. Also, the boys middle school track team was also undefeated this season. So do we have representatives from the boys middle school track team, coaches Marcellus and Coach McGinley.
Colin Reed.
Wyatt Ullman.
Kyle Weber.
Nero Mayborn.
Misa Scott.
Very good. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And we also have a 7th grade lacrosse program we want to recognize. The boys 7th grade lacrosse was undefeated as well. That is Coach Marcellus and Coach McGinley. Please come on up.
What's the Springport player to just
Hang on, let's get a couple of pictures and I'll hand this over.
won an NCAA championship for lacrosse? Was it Swank?
I'm Hayden Wedemeyer. I'm Patrick Kelly.
I'm Owen Wydro.
I'm John Cox. Brody Gundel. I'm Gunnar Wolf. Jacob Delgado.
Danae Shankar.
Sean Velton. Ian Evans. Charlie Freese. Joey Sacchetti.
Well done, guys. Congratulations on a great season. Coach, congratulations.
We just wanted, as we're getting ready for the next group, but I was talking to Dr. Roach. We just had a player, player from Springford that was just won a national NCAA title for lacrosse.
Justin Schwank. He
Schwank.
graduated in 2016.
2016.
He plays for University of Virginia, and he's their face-off specialist. So he played a great role in the win on Saturday at the Link, which was really pretty cool because it was local. So, a fun time for him, his family, and the community to be able to go down and support him. And one statement that he made that was awesome was, there's a lot of talent following him coming from the PAC. He is the first PAC player to ever win a national championship. And he just, was really excited for the skills and the quality of players that we have coming out from this area. So really exciting.
So our seventh graders have something to look for. I mean, keep practicing hard and they could be in that role in a few
Yep.
years.
And so do our varsity guys here, which we'll get to in a second. So I know a lot of the middle school athletes just left, but when you look at the success that those students have at that level, obviously we get excited, and it's reflected in the achievement that we have at the secondary level too. So it's no secret how it works. The kids down there get great coaching and great mentoring, and carries on up here as well. So we have a couple programs at the secondary level we want to recognize tonight as well for their spring achievements. The Springford Area School District Board of Education commends Springford girls track head coach Danielle Stauffer and her assistant coaches Jeff Kaler, Rich Lawhead, Amanda Christophus, Damian Boham, David Kane, Heather Giavagnoli, Jack Kranak, and Matt Verde for winning the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship with a league record of 4 wins and 1 loss. The Springford Area High School girls track team, under the guidance and leadership and direction of its coaches and captains, were able to win the PAC championship meet with a score of 136 points, and they won their 7th PAC championship in school history. So here's our winning track program with our coaches. Congratulations.
Jamie Green.
Claire Lanzacera.
Kaylee Hudson. Jordan Lutz. Brooke Donahue.
Alyssa Mohal.
Alyssa Diana.
Emily Smith.
Lindsay Yang.
Katarina Woods.
Kyra Scanlon.
Caitlin Gradwell.
Nene McCunchew.
Michaela Budeman.
Rachel Arkowski.
Esther McCunchew.
Coaches, go ahead, come on.
Coach Stauffer.
Coach Boham. Coach Kane. Coach Kaler.
Coach Lawhead. Dean Wright.
All right, there you go. All right, congratulations, girls high school track team, on another PAC championship. Congratulations. Coaches, Nene and Dean, if you could stay here for a second, okay? In addition to the team accolades and championship, we had some individual champions we want to recognize as well. We had Nene Monkachu, a member of the Springford High School girls track team. One was the Pioneer Athletic Conference girls 400-meter dash champion with a time of 59.34, a freshman. So she was our PAC champion in not only the 400-meter dash, but also she was also the Pioneer Athletic Conference girls high jump champ with a jump of 5 feet 6 inches. So congratulations. Dean Wright, another freshman, was a Pioneer Athletic Conference champion in the boys long jump with a distance of 21 feet 5 inches. Congratulations, Dean. You want to take any pictures there? Pictures. Oh, you got them? Okay. Springford Area School District Board of Education also would like to commend the Springford boys lacrosse coaches, Kevin Donnelly and assistant coach Kevin Zaper and Chuck Baker, for winning the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship with a league record of 11 wins and 0 losses. At this time, coaches, please bring your players up. The boys lacrosse team, under the direction and guidance leadership of the coaches and the captains, were able to win the PAC Final Four semifinals over O&J 7-5, and the PAC Final Four championship game over Perkiomen Valley by a score of 10-3. The Springford High School boys lacrosse team won their 9th consecutive PAC championship and 10th overall in school history. Outstanding achievement. Congratulations. So I too am lucky enough to get the gear every year, right? So, and I appreciate that. And gentlemen, I thank you for another windbreaker or a sweatshirt or something. I always look forward to the designs because we have a lot of dates on there, and I'm always curious how we're going to get them all on there. So congratulations. I know a lot of you, I see some seniors here, so I commend you for your leadership and guidance throughout the whole program. And again, it's no secret how we arrive at these points. It's the hard work, the dedication, and the great coaching that you guys get. So congratulations to all the lacrosse players. Good job.
Jake Gurman, Will Wooten, Shane Hare, James Mullen, Pat Wickstead, Hayden Groff, Chris Quigley, Ben Swar, Chris Canuso, Peyton Gensler, Brad Hart.
All right, gentlemen, congratulations. We have two more programs we want to recognize. This one, unfortunately, they are at a banquet this evening. This is our boys tennis program under the direction of Coach John Brennan and Coach Ryan Rendick and Brent Kissel for winning the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship with a record of 10 wins and 1 loss. So this is their 3rd PAC championship in school history. Congratulations to our boys tennis program. Again, unfortunately, they're at our banquet tonight, so congratulations. Has anybody checked Twitter lately? They're still going? Okay. All right. So our final program we want to acknowledge, our spring program we want to acknowledge is our girls softball program under the direction of Coach Tim Hughes and assistant coaches Sean Karopoulos and Mallory Green for winning the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship with a league record of 18 wins and 0 losses. As we mentioned before, they're out right now playing the district semifinals. The PAC, the program was able to win the PAC Final Four semifinals over Upper Merion by a score of 10-2. And the PAC Final Four championship game versus Methacton by a score of 5-0. Springford Area High School softball team won their 9th PAC championship in school history with an overall record of 23-0. So congratulations to our girls softball program.
Great, thank you. Great job. Okay, committee reports. Policy.
So the Policy Committee met on Monday, May 13th, and at that time, we first talked about the use of facilities policy, which has been in review for a very long time. The committee did review the final draft of the policy based upon feedback and discussions from our April committee meeting. We answered 4 main questions that had come out of the presentation that was done here jointly by Dr. Roach and myself. So I just would like to fill the board in on the responses to those inquiries. I'll remind you of the inquiries and the responses that we have. The first was about the 4 events with no service charge. We did, as a committee, agree to put that back into the policy. We were asked about the overall impact and the impact specifically to the basketball. So the overall impact is an increase of $48,351, so roughly $50,000 with the change to the policy or changes to the policy. The impact to basketball specifically is $15 per head based on 1,500 participants. And then if you want to factor in the use of the of Worsford Elementary, then it could increase based on those calculations to possibly $20 to $24 per head. But again, that in the overall scheme and from where we were in the beginning is a huge compromise from where the policy committee was and taking into consideration the concerns that were voiced at the committee meetings. We voted to go with the removal of the weekday fees as opposed to doing a threshold, a percentage off based on a threshold or volume of use. In that way, it was a better savings for the basketball specifically and for any of the other groups that would fall into the Class 2. Spring City Legion and the football are both under separate cover per our solicitor, and their contracts stay intact. They're not impacted by use of facilities. The YMCA is now listed as a service provider, but because of the essential functions of the Y at our schools and how they provide the before and after school care, they are also not impacted by the use of facilities. The final piece in this was a step-in process where anyone that is in the, that is a current user of facilities, the existing policy will stay in effect, and anybody new that comes in will abide by the new policy. Everybody will be on the same page as of 1920. So it is a step in. There is a year that we're giving the opportunity for everybody to get their members on board and adjust fees accordingly.
I think you mean 2020.
I mean 2021. You're right. I'm sorry. 2021. Yes. Gosh, because it's already 19. So those were the recent changes that we made, and the committee did agree to push it forward for a first read. So I believe that you've all seen that. It went out in the board memo, and it is on for a first read tonight, along with Policy 108, the adoption of textbooks. That was reviewed and recommended for a first reading tonight. We also reviewed school police incidents, which is a new policy, and that was, suggestions were made for the policy. The next steps are to update the policy and have the solicitor review that and provide the feedback back to the committee. Use of force and reporting use of force, those are also new policies. They are being reviewed and will be brought back to the next committee meeting. School safety, security, and emergency preparedness policies also are being reviewed and updated. So there is a strong emphasis on that piece at this time. And Chief Boyer has been in attendance at several of our meetings recently. I anticipate seeing him as we go through these policies. So that was about it. Our next meeting will be in September, and we will get that date and have that out there. So any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, extracurricular.
First, just an update. I did just get a notification that the girls lost tonight in softball, so it's their first loss of the season. However, their previous win did qualify them for state, so they continue on, and I'm sure they'll continue to do us proud. They've had just an amazing, amazing season, so wish them well. The extracurricular committee met on May 13th. We had 3 presentations. One was the elementary school level. Limerick Elementary Reading Olympics team came and met with us. The goal of Reading Olympics is to promote students' reading for enjoyment, develop reading skills, and thereby increase reading achievement. The students read a collection of books. As a team, they read between 40 and 50 books that have been selected by a committee from the intermediate unit. And then at the end of the year, they meet at various schools. They could select a school and they compete with other teams from other schools. This was a great group of kids. I believe there were 8 students. The teams typically can range from anywhere from 6 to 12, and there were 8 students. They really enjoyed Reading Olympics. They were surprised with, having to read a book that they didn't want to read, and they ended up really, really liking it. So they were exposed to genres that they wouldn't select on their own, really kind of broadened their interests, and it really was wonderful. They do meet after school, and they and during school as well. And they go, they talk about books, they share with one another, they take notes on the books that they read, and then they even, in some of their after-school meetings, they actually will watch a movie if a book was based off of a movie or vice versa. So the team that joined us did win a blue ribbon. They were so excited. And they actually it was a 4th grade team, and they competed against 2 6th grade teams and 1 5th grade team. So they were really proud of themselves and their accomplishments. And it really, you could see in their presentation, kind of how it really boosted their kind of esteem, and it just was wonderful. So congratulations to them. It was terrific, and we appreciate them coming and sharing with us. The second group that came to share with us was the Knowledge Bowl. It was a 6th and 7th grade team, and they begin in January, and they meet after school, and it is a general knowledge quiz club. So they meet and they really spend the time getting quizzed. They're asking general knowledge questions on reading, math, history, English, sentence structure, etc. It's not necessarily something that they can study for. It's just rapid fire questions. They've got a great buzz box. They were really excited to share it with us. So, each member of each team would hold a button and get to buzz in, kind of like on Jeopardy. And so that was really exciting, and they had a great time showing us that. And they did actually do a mock competition with a few of the adult members of our group. And of course, the students won. So cheers to them. They brilliant, of course. And actually, they were competing against 32 other teams at Owen J. Roberts just this past week on May 24th. So that was wonderful. And then we had a high school wrap-up, and really most of what we talked about and shared was reviewed here tonight. It was all of the awards and just amazing accolades and accomplishments for our high school sports programs. A couple key shout-outs again, just to reiterate, Dean Wright and Nene Makanchu, both being freshmen, so they've had amazing careers ahead of them. And another congratulations goes out to Lucy Olson, who is a sophomore on our girls basketball team. And Lucy was actually invited to try out for the USA U16 team in Colorado. So she was there this past weekend for tryouts. So that was wonderful. A couple other items that we discussed for some other business. We did talk a little bit about the boys volleyball and adding the program. It would be a spring program and would not be implemented until spring of 2021. So we do have some time. We're going to continue to evaluate the interest level, but it is something that students have indicated on their end of sports questionnaire. So it's something that we're looking into. If we do propose that, it would be as a member of the Chestmont membership to begin, as there are no PAC schools at this time with a boys volleyball team. We decided we would hold it and revisit it in November of 2019, 2 meetings from now. We, again, just touched base, keeping our finger on the pulse of the middle school expansion pilot update. Again, scheduling has been a concern. It's been very difficult to get multiple teams scheduled. We were hoping that spring would kind of flush out a little bit, be a little bit better. Unfortunately, the same challenges existed, where some schools are reducing the number of teams they have or not holding programs, eliminating sports. So we had a number of cancellations, no-shows, and so that really reduces the number of competitive opportunities for our students. Again, continuing to keep an eye on that. We did earlier this year elect to keep it at a pilot level for 1 more year before we evaluate whether we expand or not. Okay. Also, administration is continuing to focus on making sure the majority of roster spots are filled on all the existing teams, so that we continue to meet the objectives of the expansion program. Sports physicals will be offered on June 3rd, 6th, and 10th. They're grade specific and time specific, so for folks interested, take a look at that. Later on the agenda, we'll see a proposal for girls basketball to accept an invitation to KSA tournament in Orlando. So we'll be looking at that. And then we also discussed an extracurricular contract shift. So we'd be looking to shift the, what's currently in the contract as the Kiwanis Builders Club contract to be moved to a second Ireland Exchange Advisor. The program, the Ireland Exchange, has continued to grow immensely, and the Kiwanis Club has not been existing for a number of years. The compensation is the same for both positions, and so we would be looking to shift that.
And following that meeting, I had clarity that that is also a part of the German exchange, so it's.
It would be both.
Yeah, it's
so
kind of both.
They'll
It's
be
to
taking
help
on
fulfill,
both pieces.
yeah,
So
parts of that,
we
yeah.
definitely there's a huge need for that second piece, especially given the structure of the German exchange program and it being, the 1 week in the school, but the second week really being at, our responsibility to make sure the planning and tour is all set. So that second advisor will be critical to the success of both programs. We adjourned at 7:32, and our next extracurricular meeting will be held on Thursday, September 12th, 2019, at 6:30 p.m. in the district office. Questions?
Christina, for future meeting, I think one of the things that extracurricular may need to work with administration and eventually maybe policy. I don't know if it has to go to policy or not, but it seems to be a lot of questions raised. And I was at the academic awards banquet the other night, and a couple parents approached me about there seems to be this growing concern that when we have, and it's unfortunate Mr. McDaniel's not, he had to go back out, he had a good reason why he had to run out there, but there seems to be this trend where if kids are participating in a Springford sponsored event and they're part of another team, they're being held, it's being held against them in a negative way. One parent, I don't want to say the sport, but I did have one parent adamantly reach out to me a few times where, their child was part of a program, actually part of this Irish exchange program,
Okay.
Ireland exchange program, and they were participating in a spring sport, and they were told that because they were traveling for this event or for this program that they were basically benched for 3 games, and but this has gone on before, and I thought it was solved, and but apparently it's not. But we need to. The coaches need to understand that we have kids that participate in multiple. I'm not saying that they get special treatment, but on the flip side of it, if you're going to bench a student for missing, I can understand that if they're missing practices or games because of a multitude of reasons, like they just didn't feel like going or whatever it may be. But when they're participating in Springford sponsored events, or even like we have many times where we have kids participate in one sport say in the fall, they get into playoffs or whatever it may be, which extends their season, which then a lot of those seasons get extended into what we would call the winter sports season, where they would be impacted. And again, it's being held against them. And the word on the street is don't only participate in one sport or whatever it is, because you'll be held, it'll be held against you if you participate in other things. So it's something that we need to look at.
It is something that we have discussed, and Dr. Roach, maybe we could put that on the agenda for September. But I think one of the things that I have heard loud and clear is we also have to keep in mind the safety of our students. And when we have a student who has been out for an extended period of time, for whatever the reason may be, they may not physically be in shape to perform the sports function. And so we need to make sure that we are getting our students back in shape. And sometimes that does need to be at the discretion of the coach to make the decision when the player is kind of back and ready to play, whether it's, for shorter periods of time or whatever that might be. But it's something certainly we can reevaluate and have a discussion and see if I'm not sure if a blanket policy is going to work to say this number or a limit, but certainly we we could take a look at it and make an evaluation.
So we've also discussed it at policy committee, and sort of came to the general consensus that policy is not exactly where that belonged. We had suggested perhaps some sort of language on the student activity fee form that says, you know, if you're going to participate in multiple sports, please, like, you know, confirm with your coach if there will be any restrictions, something along those lines, because you can't, in order to put a policy in place, there's just too many scenarios that you could.
I think probably, yeah, I think maybe some guidelines, but I think also maybe, quite honestly, we need to have somebody who oversees it and somebody, you know, kind of the gatekeeper, if you will, so that as these issues and decisions come up, that, and as a coach makes that decision, that this is my policy for my team, that needs to be vetted through a certain person, you know, whether it be our athletic director or somebody who's designated, to then be able to say, yes, that's reasonable, that's a sound and reasonable decision, or not. So perhaps there's some things that we can put into place from a process perspective. My concern, again, with policy is that you may have one student who is on the Ireland trip who gets up at 5 o'clock every morning and runs for 2 hours and then comes back and takes a shower and begins their day, and another student who takes everything from that experience, from, you know, the sights and sounds and tastes of the culture, and doesn't necessarily get up in the morning and run 2 hours every day. So perhaps from a physical readiness to jump right back in, we could be putting them at risk of injury. And so we want to make sure that we do protect against that.
We do too. When we talked about it in policy, I think we came to the perspective, and this is really echoing what Kelly said, that it's an awareness. That the child, the parents, they need to know, they need to be aware of what the consequences are, good, bad, or in between. They need to know what those are before they agree to an event that could cross over, or an activity that could cross over into something else across the board. But we also want to preserve, you know, the Limerick trip. Now we've got the German piece coming on here, and I think there needs to be, and I think that Coach McDaniel is going to have a meeting with the coaches so that there is some kind of balance there. And
again,
not make
right.
the decisions in isolation, but again, like you said, to have someone that
Just a
oversees that
gatekeeper
to,
who says, yes, that's a reasonable, sound judgment. I
Right.
get it. Yep, I see what you're saying. Yes, that makes sense. And it may be, you know, I'm not sure how many of these cases exist, to be honest with you.
I don't know either, but I
And-
do know we were at that banquet the other night, and you know, it came up again.
Yeah.
It came up again.
And
that's
I've
an odd
heard it in
time for it
other-
to come up,
right.
right? When we're praising these kids,
and
but
so
it
I
came
think-
up again.
And I
So-
think it happened a number of times I was aware of over the past 10 or so years. But just so too, the students and the parents know that what's going to happen, so
Right.
that they know beforehand when they're making a decision to do Limerick, well, this will be the consequence. Not that it's this penalty afterwards that they had no idea was going to occur. I think that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, we have to be careful, because first off, there's been many articles that have been written where students shouldn't specialize in high school, right? First off. Second off, we already know that what came out of this is that the rumor is that kids aren't applying for the Ireland exchange program because they're afraid that if they go on that trip, they're going to be penalized for anything that they do that conflicts with that. So we really need to, because if we sit there and say, if we allow that to happen, where coaches could sit there and penalize kids because they're participating in another Springford sponsored event, then we're isolating kids and what they're giving them the opportunities to be well-rounded students. So we just, and again, I'm not saying we need to make decisions. I'm saying that I wanted to open up an extracurricular, and it doesn't have to be a
Right,
policy.
which we want to encourage is a
We
well-rounded
want to
kid.
encourage the students to cross-participate, not put barriers or obstacles, and that's what's starting to happen, is barriers or obstacles are being put in front of these kids. And they're going to have intense pressure to specialize, and that's not what we want to do.
Yeah, and the problem I have is that there's not rules that are uniform, and it's discretion of the coach for that season, or it could change year to year, and depending on star players versus non-star players, that there's not unequal treatment, that one year the star player gets to do it, and the next year the non-star player gets penalized. So I think there's a danger of not having some formal, I don't know if it's a policy, but guidelines or rules or communication of what it should be, because we don't want year to year to vary between certain players. That the rules are different for this set of players, and the next year those rules are out the window because this is an important player. So everybody's treated the same, and everybody knows going into whatever the activity is what the rules are, and they don't vary all the time.
So again, I just wanted to, I don't want to,
Yep, added to the,
yeah.
we have it on the agenda, and certainly can talk offline as well about it, so thank you. Anything else?
Okay, Western Center, Mr. Dressler, Ms. Heaney's not here. Mark, do you have an update?
Well, since it was about 3 weeks ago, I wasn't prepared. Generally, we had I think two major presentations, one on the metal, the advanced manufacturing technology program, splitting that into two, because the thought was between welding and machining, if there wasn't two different programs like all the other centers have throughout the state, or at least the area, that the students didn't get enough of one or the other. They got just kind of shortchanged, so they need to specialize in one or the other to be competitive. And the other thing was about the benefits, changing the employee benefits for healthcare to a different company. That was basically the two main presentations.
Any questions? All right, PSBA liaison, Dr. Dressler's not here. MCIU, again, the meeting this month was primarily focused on, as I talked about, the remodeling of the old MCIU building, which we're utilizing now with the Head Start program and all the other programs that are at that facility. The bids came in of what what we put out the bid basically for the remodeling, and they were way too high, so they redid the bid package, and they're working out moving to bid again to get the pricing down on the remodeling of that building. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. DeBella. Unfortunately, Dr. Gooden was unable to join us this evening, but he did have a written report that I will read on his behalf. Thank you and congratulations to all the students and staff of the intermediate school for their participation in the Dietz and Watson Pretty in Pig fundraising program. Total donations amounted to $5,601. These donations are a result of the 5th and 6th grades participation in More Than Pink Community Service Project from April 29th to May 10th. Two homerooms of note are Mrs. Wagonseller's 5th grade homeroom, who collected $754, and Miss Ray's 6th grade homeroom, who collected $223. Each homeroom will receive a pizza party and a trophy. Proceeds go to the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. So great job to the 5th and 6th grade on their participation in this worthy cause. Also, each summer there are many facility improvement projects happening here in the district. Projects include completion of our high school project for later July. Also at the 9th grade center, we'll be replacing the windows. At Limerick Elementary School, we will have a new walking path thanks to the generosity of the Limerick Home and School Association. And several of our parking lots will be repaved, just to name a few of the projects. Dr. Gooden wants to commend our custodial and maintenance crews for all of their hard work and dedication throughout the hot summer. Finally, I want to acknowledge the work of the Remoir staff. The 2018-19 edition is excellent, with several significant short stories, poems, digital art, and photography entries. So well done, Remoir staff. Hopefully everyone will get a chance to enjoy the student work.
Okay, any questions? Solicitor's report?
The only report I have is that policy 707, which is on tonight's agenda for first reading, was reviewed by Mr. Fitzgerald, and his comments were passed passed back to Dr. Roach and incorporated into the final policy draft, which is on your agenda.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, meeting minutes, motion A and B. Motion second, any comment? All in favor say aye. Under personnel, I have a change under items G and H. It says that the funds are coming from the IDA. That's a typo. They're actually coming from the special education budget. So just make that noted. So do I have a motion for personnel, A through N?
Separate L and M.
L and what?
L and M.
L and M, all right. All right, A through, you said K and M. N, no, you said M or N?
M is in Mark.
Oh, Mark, what a awesome name Mark is. Okay, A through K. Do I have a motion? And N. Well, I was going to come around to it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, do I have a motion for L? Okay, no motion for L. Do I have a, huh? For L? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion second, comment. Motion second. Any comment?
Yeah, as I mentioned last week, I don't think that this is a really needed position for my education perspective, particularly in a tough budget year. We have a 2.3% tax increase. I think it's something that we can live without, and therefore I'm against it.
Any other comment?
Can you just elaborate a little bit why this is needed in addition to the athletic trainers?
Okay, so this is not an athletic trainer position. This is a position that would be in the fitness room that would be providing guidance and educational around the proper use of the equipment, the proper use of proper way of exercising, and actually owning the facility. The recommendation came from Mr. McDaniel, Dr. Nugent, and Dr. Gooden as far as this is what they wanted to put in place. So I think that they really want somebody, a lot of districts that have moved in this direction. So I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately,
Well,
none of them are here this evening.
I know. I'm a fan of this. I had 4 kids who were all student athletes and a son who had a bad concussion playing soccer, and a daughter who played 3 sports, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then settled into soccer later on. And I think it helps prevent injuries, frankly, especially concussions, but also ACL tears, which some of these girls get 1 or 2 in high school. And there's just a giant body of student athletes here who I think it's a necessary position. I'm a big fan.
I also think that the way this description is written, it's really to support all of our students, not just our student athletes. And so that was some of the changes that were made from last week to this week. I think what's important to think about is we do have student athletes and they have their coaches and they have the athletic trainers supporting them. However, there aren't coaches and athletic trainers helping, me, who might want to go and use the facility and learn how to use it properly and prevent injury and do the right thing and put together a program. So it's really somebody to help the broader population of our school district, whereas our athletic trainers really work more directly with our teams and coaches and team groups. So this, I think, opens up and provides that same, a really good resource to the entire community.
And we have a whole staff of athletic trainers who, to a large extent, treat the student after they've been injured.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Let's
this
not
might
confuse
prevent-
athletic trainer.
I mean,
They're in place for when there's student injury.
First aid.
Or first aid.
And
when-
if
right.
this person does a good job, eventually, maybe we could phase out one of, I mean, I don't want anyone to lose it, but I mean, maybe we won't have as many injuries and we will have conditioned students not going to those getting taped up. My daughter had her ankles and knees taped up. I mean, she had to be there, half hour, an hour before each game. The basketball team was going down and being taped up, and it's nice to have somebody preventing these.
And did I see, and I'm not sure, I might be confusing this with the other one. Is this also, the hours are going to vary so that when a different population is using those facilities, that person would be available, correct?
Yes, it's paid, the position is based upon a certain number of hours with some flexibility in terms of the scheduling based upon the school schedule, which is not non-traditional sometimes, and then when students are available, and then set times when the facility is open for all students.
Yeah, when the new fitness center was approved, some of the rationale was that it wasn't big enough for our phys ed classes, so this solved that problem. We already had a facility that athletes could work out in, so they were getting some kind of guidance in the past. And I just don't think it's taxpayers' responsibility to make sure that our athletes get the top training that they want or need to excel in their sport. That we're not here to produce world-class athletes, we're here to educate students. And the rationale that we needed this for phys ed, that doesn't change. We'll have more room in our in that facility for the phys ed classes, and I would expect the physical education teachers to be teaching the kids like they do today to use the equipment properly. And I think we're already doing this, and we would continue doing it with the ability to accommodate more students for the phys ed classes.
The way the role was explained to me was that it's somebody that is in the facility, they own the facility, and they are responsible for ensuring that everyone utilizing and using the facility is using it correctly. Our coaches are not trained in strength and conditioning. Our athletic trainers aren't trained in strength and conditioning, and I don't believe our PE teachers are specialized trained in strength and conditioning. So the concern and the objective was to have somebody in the facility, and this is just one part of the expansion, and it was for them to basically own the facility. There's a lot of equipment that's going in. It's a bigger facility, and they want to make sure that all the students are properly. It's not about top-notch strength and conditioning or world-class athletes. It's ensuring that the students are using the equipment and they're using it properly. Many kids could be hurt on equipment if it's not used properly. If they're exercising incorrectly, utilizing the equipment, they could be hurt.
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose of
I see it as safety and
It's
injury
safety.
prevention
Right, that's
in a
exactly what it is.
in a very large student body and a very large school that has an incredibly high number of athletes.
And when I used to work out at the Y, I used to see some of our high school kids come over there, and I'd see them working out, and I would look at them and go, "Who showed you how to do that?" And they're like, "Oh, nobody." I'm like, and I'm just watching them like on the bench and that, and it was mind-boggling when I watched these kids, utilizing equipment. And this is what this role is that, and again, this was recommended by, Dr. Nugent and Mr. McDaniel and that. So there's definitely a need for this position. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. And M. Do I have a motion for M? Motion second. Any comment?
Yeah, the comment I have is that in the last, I don't know how many years, 3 years or so, we had already hired another person in that department. This would be a third person, so we will triple the personnel in the Future Planning Center without really a significant increase in our students. So I think we keep building positions, and again, in a tight budget year, where we have 2.3% tax increase, we're adding more positions that I think we need to learn to get by with what we have and not keep adding administrative positions.
My experience with FPC is that they are extremely, extremely busy. They are spread so thin that they don't always have the ability to meet the full needs of all of our students. We have students who have various interests, the complexities of the application process, the requirements. They need GPAs. They don't need GPAs. They want this. They need that. There's this exception. There's that waiver. Each application process has become more and more complex. Mark. I don't know how they have become more complex from when we applied to college, but certainly when my son applied, and then even when my daughter applied, it became more and more complex, more and more difficult to navigate. And I think it's really important that they have the support that they need, the paperwork. We ask of them as a district from a reporting perspective, tracking, trending, expanding opportunities and visiting, having them go out to visit colleges and universities to bring back information to our students so that our students really have a much broader, knowledge base of where to go and where the specialties are within. It's mind-boggling how complex it is, and certainly I can see, one person supporting over 300 students is extremely difficult, and some support there would be more than helpful, I think, at this point, and would actually serve our students much better, whether it's for college or career planning or, even military programs.
You also have to think that, rewind to when I was in high school, we had a guidance counselor. We didn't have a future planning career center. The guidance counselors today don't handle that aspect. These are specialized, dedicated resources because the guidance counselors have their hands full. So this is all they do is help our kids get prepared, apply. I've noticed myself in a 4-year span, the insertion of a second counselor in that office I've visually seen improvements in the interaction, the programs we're offering to our students, and I definitely think that with the amount of kids we're putting through at each class, that it's not just tripling the size of the office for no reason. I really think that they're helping students maximize their potential and get money for school or apply to the right schools, figure out what school to get into or with their course load, and helping them get to the best result that they can.
And not just that, they're also reaching out to businesses, establishing relationships so that, giving students opportunities who may choose not to go on to college, but choose to go into a business setting, into a job or career directly from school. They're helping through that too. So they're not just college counselors, they're really future planning and whatever your future may be, whether it's military. So the amount of knowledge and information that they have to be able to access, and the number of students that they're servicing, and the complexities of what we've asked them to do to not just be college, but really for all of our students, for their careers and their futures. We've asked for a very broad description, and they need support.
Yeah, Christina, you really hit it there. It's the Act 339 requirements that are really driving this position. It simply can't be done without another person. And to continue to develop the business relationships, you may be looking at more, just to put that out there. But that's primarily what's driving this.
I think that's good.
I agree.
I think that's good for me to know too, because my background is in guidance, and I think that I struggle a little bit with adding a third person in a 4-year period of time, when my experience has always been the guidance counselors are the ones that do this, and how lucky Spring-Ford is to have the Future Planning Center. But that's on one side, and then on the flip side, like, wow, we have the Future Planning Center and they can do so much. They just need the tools and the manpower to be able to do that. So it really is a bit of a sticky wicket. But I think with that Act 339, that if that's where the push is coming from, then I could go with that. If it's coming from the increased demand, well, the numbers haven't really climbed to justify tripling the workforce in the 4-year span. Well, from 1 to 3, going from 1 to 3 in the period of time that I've been here. But if that piece is moving it, I could get on board with that.
Yeah, I think we need to exploit of the resources that we have with the internet and automate things to do better. I mean, when I was in college, when I was in high school, there was no internet. You had to go send away to get an application, a catalog, and all that stuff. So if anything, there's much more information out there. It's easily to be had. So I think through automation, using the internet, creating tools, as opposed to having individuals try to handhold take people through the process. I mean, my son graduated in 2011. He didn't use any future planning center to go to college. He kind of figured it out on his own. So I think if we give kids the right tools and set up the right processes, then they should be able to do more for themselves and less people intensive. The problem I have is we keep growing administrative positions. And I think we have a tough budget year. We need to slow down that growth, and a 2.3% tax increase is not slowing down the growth.
Mark, I don't doubt it's a tough budget year. I was there when this position was first discussed, and it is, as Mrs. Bass said, clearly on the heels of 339, although many think 339 is about compliance. Spring-Ford has taken a very aggressive and a sort of approach to support the students to get their career and college counseling. And this is really a support in there to help the people that are doing the work to support. It's not administrative, it is a secretarial position. Not to devalue it, but just to correct the statement that was made about adding administration. But it's a recommendation from the team about really supporting all of our students at the same time.
I think that this will definitely also help our current FPC staff really focus on what they need to be focused on, which is the students, which is their futures, and really them getting, continuing to grow their tools and their resources and their contacts and their networks, so that they can better support our students, and some of the paperwork and other things can fall to a secretary who can support them. I think would be a useful position.
Can I have a motion and a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Before we go on to finance, I do want to reiterate, we keep talking about a tough budget year, but administration put forward over $2.5 million or so in new positions, and the finance committee, working with Mr. Fink and staff, worked diligently in reducing the overall request for new positions throughout the district. I believe that we were very stringent in identifying and working directly with the staff to eliminate as many positions as possible. Unfortunately, there are requirements and different things that cause us to grow, and this budget that we'll be approving has somewhere around close to $1.5 million in new positions here in the district. This information's been available to the board for almost 3 months now, so I don't want to make it look like we haven't been looking at this closely over time. And if we want to eliminate positions, then I say we eliminate all new positions. Because everything that was stated for any one of these positions so far, I could say the same thing for every other new position that was suggested by administration. So I think we need to be careful as far as taking, and everyone's welcome to their position, and I agree with some statements that were made, and I don't agree with other statements that were made, but at the end, somewhere along the line, we've said numerous times as a board that with administration puts forward recommendations, and I know Dr. Gooden and Dr. Roach and Mr. Fink worked extremely hard throughout the district, pushing back on every new position. So again, if we want to take a position to start saying no to positions, then I recommend that we eliminate all new positions, and then we could reduce the budget by $1.5 million. So do I have a motion for finance A through Q?
Separate M.
A through L. Do I have a motion? Motion is, do I have a second? Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do I have a motion N through Q? Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do I have a motion for M? Motion second, any comment?
Again, I can't support a tax increase of 2.3%. I think we need to have one that's under 2%. And out of $169 million, we should be able to sweat out enough just to get us under the 2%, which this is not keeping in line with the average we've had over the last several years.
Okay, so based on that, where do you recommend that we cut out $400,000?
New positions. Take
Okay.
out $300,000.
So make a motion to cut out $500,000 in new positions.
I make a motion to take out, how much money do we need to get under 2%?
It's $100,000 per tenth of a percent.
Okay, so I make a motion to remove $400,000 from new positions to reduce the budget to a 1.9% tax increase.
Well, I believe right now you have a motion which was moved and seconded to approve the budget as presented. So there could be a motion to amend that prior motion, but you can't just put another motion on the floor.
Can I make a motion to amend the budget to reduce it by $400,000 coming from new positions?
And just for clarification, that's a motion to amend the main motion to reflect that reduction. And that would require a second.
That's really not amending, that's the first motion.
Well, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I understand, so.
I'm trying to help
Right.
get the appropriate motion on. There's a main motion on the floor, and I believe the intent is to amend that main motion to approve the budget as presented with a reduction of whatever the proposal is.
So really, his motion should be amendment of a reduction of that total amount by $400,000.
Correct.
This is what he should amend the motion.
Correct.
That's.
So the motion would be to approve the budget as presented, less $400,000.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so the motion is to amend the budget motion to reduce the budget by $400,000 coming from new positions.
So how do we have discussion on that without understanding from the administration what the impacts are going to be?
This is what's frustrating is that this has been on the table for multiple months. Nothing, we all knew that we were going to be at this, nobody was happy that we were going to be at this point. We've had multiple meetings, we approved the preliminary budget, we approved the budget for advertising. We've had exec session discussing all the new positions, all the new positions were sent out in the board memo.
Okay, I just want to interject. There's a motion to amend. There hasn't been a second.
No.
So unless there's a second, that motion to amend dies and the main motion's back on the floor.
Then second, so we can have the discussion.
I was going to second it.
When do we get to comment or have the discussion?
Right now.
Right now.
So here's where I'm looking at this, because this is kind of crazy all over the place. But yes, we've been aware that these positions have been on the table, and I'm very much aware that Mr. Fink and the Finance Committee and the administration have worked tirelessly to get this budget where it is. But we also have a need for some of those positions, and I'm not ready to jump ship on all of those. Yeah, I had questions, and I still am wavering on some, but I'm not ready to jump ship on all of them. Security being one of my biggest things. That I absolutely support Chief Boyer if he needs that, and I was very much convinced about the strengthening piece for the safety of our students. Safety, safety, safety has to be a priority in this, where we live right now. So that's one piece. We also have a number of special ed positions that are on there that I would also not be in favor of eliminating, because we all know how much they're needed, and we've heard that all through the years that we've been here. So the increase of wages for our teachers, for our very dedicated teachers who work also tirelessly to educate all of our students, my students, your students, I can't see getting rid of that either. So we know that 82% of our funding comes from the local taxpayers, the local tax base. I don't want a huge increase. None of us do. We all have to pay it. But at the same time, I think we're trying to strike a balance. So that's my 2 cents.
Again, my question is really just, what are the impacts of I guess the motion on the table is a $400,000, is that what you said, $400,000 is the motion? Reduction to staffing, the proposed staffing. So, like, let's pull up the list. What does that mean, right?
Does it have to be all or nothing? I mean, does
there,
it have to be all or nothing?
are there options to defer hiring by 4 months? Would that get us there? Are there, I don't, you know, like, if that's...
We could defer hiring, but it's still got to be a budgeted position. So the strategy of how the hiring is and how to save money over the year, that could be a hiring strategy that could be put in place, but you can't sit here and say in the budget, don't spend money for 4 months. So we're either approving a budget, and so my question is that I'm not, if we're going to make a change, because I was never comfortable with the 2.3, so I like to see $1 million taken off the budget. I mean, if we want to go with previous year standards and everything else, then, I mean, if we're like I said before, if we're going to make cuts, if we're not going to haphazardly saying we want to be under 2%, I don't want to be under, I want to be at 1%. So, I mean, it's again, this is the 23rd hour that we're talking about this, when this has been brought up through the whole process.
I'm not comfortable micromanaging like this.
Well,
I
we are
feel like
now we're
right,
micromanaging.
but I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, I understand that, but, so this budget's been advertised for 30 days. We followed the whole process since January, and now we're in the 23rd hour, and we're gonna sit here and question administration on $400,000 worth of positions, which is somewhere between 4 and 6 positions. And now we gotta sit here and say, okay, Dr. Roach, since Dr. Gooden isn't here, take 4 positions and eliminate them.
Or deferring them to later in the year. That's not micromanaging. That's just saying you have so much money, you spend it however you want. If it's $1 million in new positions, I mean, that's done all the time in the business world, where you don't spend everything at once. And the schools are different because there's a school year that has students come in at a certain period of time. But I mean, through staggering new positions throughout the year, that's a real savings in dollars. So that can be done, and I don't consider it micromanaging. That's giving how much money the administration has, and they deciding how they want to spend it over the school year.
Well, but that's sort of what we've been doing for the past 7 months at the Finance Committee meetings. We go through that whole budgeting process from the beginning of the school year and take into consideration this department has needs, this department has needs. I mean, our largest chunk of our budget is staff, right? Retirement, benefits, not tuition. Tuition's what I pay. Salary. We can't just decide, like, I mean, are there certain positions that you want to put on the table? I think that it's difficult for us to spend 7 months with the administration going through this budgeting process, and it's a very lengthy, detailed, thought out, formulated process, and get to the literally last second and then say, well, let's change it by 3%, 0.3%, sorry.
4%, basically.
The other
Point.
issue I'd like to note is that your resolution incorporates a detailed budget, which has all the expenditures
it's-
itemized. So that would need to be modified to accommodate that $400,000 reduction.
The other thing is then if we make changes, I believe we would have to advertise again. Well, no, because we're going down.
Yeah, you would not have to re-advertise.
Right.
You can make modifications, but
Right.
you would have to
Because
show
it's going
what those
down.
modifications
Right.
are in the budget.
Right.
Just wanted to chime in here. I think we're really simplifying and minimizing the amount of work that's been done. I mean, no, I think just throw it around, just reduce 400,000 with a list of being prioritized, the needs of students, my nature as I'm looking at this list to protect the instructional core of what's going on in the classroom on a daily basis, and seeing the other items which are not even on this list of items that are proposed to do things the right way, to do things the way that Springford has traditionally done them. It's not ballooned for any specific reason. It's not ballooned or out of control in terms of the needs are going on. When you talk about special education programs coming back to the district, because that's what's good for kids. When you talk about supports in classrooms and supports all along there, it's a difficult conversation, which I happen to participate in. I just don't want it to be minimalized to just slash and get where you want to go and move on, because that's not the manner in which it was addressed and created.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've talked about as a board, and certainly as a finance committee on numerous occasions, is that we are not really in a position to say, here's the number, get to it. Because administration really needs to tell us what they need. And certainly we can ask questions, why do we need this, or how is that going to be utilized, or what are our projected numbers that lead us to that place. But for us to give a number and say get there is not realistic and is not reasonable, because we can't have administration cutting positions that are going to hurt our students. Certainly safety and security is a key focus of our district and every other district in the country. We can't cut proposed police officer positions. It's just not realistic. We need to put safety and security first. We certainly, nobody wants to see this 2.3% tax increase. We also didn't want to see the 2.35% tax increase we had last year. Remember, Mr. Denner, this is all coming from the board and, the negotiations with our teachers and the increase that we have to realize our teachers deserve certainly the increase, but that increase is really the bulk of where we're seeing the increased need for our budget. Yes, these positions are added, but these positions are also necessary. They're have-to-haves in order for our students to get the educational experience they deserve in a safe learning environment. And I truly believe that our administration has presented that to us, and we have asked time and time again, is this, can we go any lower? Can we cut any more? And this is what we came back to. And I believe in our administration, certainly in our CFO and Dr. Roach and Dr. Gooden, all the principals, that they have done everything that they can to make sure that this budget reflects what is needed and is not frivolous. But
Right,
it's not,
and it's lower than last year. It is lower than last year, and it definitely is, and I'll repeat this, impacted by the increased salaries to our teachers and these new personnel positions.
And the increased cost in special ed.
And the increased cost in special ed. Yes, the ever increasing cost in special ed.
And Mr. Denner, just to reiterate, I don't think any of us like it. It's not, it's not something that any of us want to vote to increase taxes. I don't want to pay the increased tax. I certainly don't want, my neighbors and residents of our community, to feel that additional pressure. Unfortunately, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place right now. And the conversations that we've had in the Finance Committee certainly have been tooth and nail at times to make sure that we get to where we need to be.
So how does the board want to proceed forward?
I think we have to
That's-
vote for Mr. Dennert's
I'm asking if
motion.
there's any other comment, I guess I should say. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to amend the motion to reduce the budget number by $400,000. Do I have a vote on that? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? No. Do I have a motion for, well,
Main motion, which was M on your agenda, correct?
right. So I go back to
Yeah,
just ask.
you're up to your main motion's on the floor. Or is it M?
M,
Yes.
right, so the motion on the floor, M. M. Do I have a
So
mo-
that's been moved and seconded. It's now.
Right, now it's back
We
on.
can discuss it and do a call for a vote.
So I have a motion and a second on the original M. Any comment?
My only comment is I'd like to see that 2% really simple, broken out by how much of it is staffing costs, special ed, and then other. I don't need it right now, but maybe in next week's board memo. Yeah.
Well, we could also go back to the presentation that Mr. Fink did.
I still have it.
Right, so it's out there too, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, any other comment? We have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Property A through E. Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Programming curriculum, A through I. Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Conferences and workshops, A through C. Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Other business, A and B.
Second.
Motion second, any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Information, A through F. Well, we're just, I guess that's not a motion.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, thank you for the information. As I mentioned this last week, those information items were projects that are going on that are funded by our Holman schools. They're all wonderful organizations. At Limerick Elementary, they're putting in a walking path at $36,000. Spring City Elementary is purchasing additional playground equipment. The 567 is putting in outdoor classroom projects. The high school, Evans Holman School is purchasing additional playground equipment. And the class of 2019 is purchasing 3 water ball filling stations for the high school and 1 for the 9th grade center. And finally, Oaks Elementary School, the Holman School is purchasing a water bottle filling station for each of those. Oaks Elementary and Upper Providence Elementary are getting water bottle filling stations. These are all stuff that's donated by the Holman School organizations or student class. So this is, a lot of great organizations out there supporting the district and providing things that the district isn't in a position to do.
I just want to share that all buildings have a water bottle filling station, as well as the 5-6, and the building here may have 2, 3, 2 here. So that was established so that everyone would have that opportunity to have that in the building, and these Holman schools are adding to that above what the district has done.
And again, you sit here and listen to the discussion about the budget, and you see like these four Home and School associations making donations like this. And it happens very frequently that they raise money and donate, whether it's playground equipment or water bottle filling stations to the students, smart boards, so much, and it goes so far. It really does. Couldn't do it without them.
That was the beauty of the President's Council meeting that we had recently, where they all talked about all of the different contributions that they make and how it does enhance the education for our kids. So, I mean, thank goodness that that's not all in the budget, right? Right.
Roughly $100,000 of things that are being purchased. Okay, any board comment? Everyone exhausted from comment?
Yep.
Any public comment or public to be heard?
Linda Weaver, 2 Woodmont Court, Schwanksville. I'd like to start off, thanks. I'd like to start off by thanking the board for televising the board meeting so that those of us who lead really busy lives can participate virtually. That's to be commended. And I have 2 issues I'd like to comment on. I don't know if you had a chance to see the front page of the Mercury today, but there's an article about the Owen J. Roberts School District. It says board weighs sleep options. And their board is looking at, obviously, at several issues with sleep study. So, with several surrounding districts looking at this issue, I would respectfully request that the board consider taking advantage of the free sleep study for our students. The outcome of the study could help inform a discussion with the community, and a database decision could be made with this information. Secondly, the proposed preliminary budget for the next school year that we have heard about tonight includes a tax increase of 2.3% to close approximately a $2.4 million budget gap. And I understand that the anticipated revenues fell short of the expenditures. But what I don't understand is why at the same meeting that a tax increase is announced, a decision to buy a sign for the football field that will ultimately cost more than $142,000 plus installation costs was also made. I understand that the sign issue was studied and discussed for 2 years, and I'm wondering why that 2-year window wasn't used as an opportunity for fundraising or a booster club effort. Raising taxes and expending that amount of money at the same meeting sends a very poor message to taxpayers. Any comments?
So your first comment was what was your first comment about the budget? Or sorry, the sleep study, we are looking at that, and we're deciding how we're going to proceed forward with that. The budget is the increase in the budget for next year is because expenses have raised about between 3 and 3.5% per year, and our revenues don't quite come up that. I mean, it's basically 80, like Colleen said, 82% of our funding comes from the local tax base, which is residents and businesses. And we've had very good years where we had a 0% tax increase, and we've had years where we've had 1%, and we've had years where we have a 2%. And it's all based on the growth of the district or the needs of the district, and we look at it very closely. And we've trimmed our budget down in the past. We've seen this district grow between 8 and 9% expenses, and we've trimmed and cut, and we've done extremely well over the years, getting us to this point. We also had a contract negotiation that occurred that, like everyone has stated, our teachers' salaries are increased every year. We have over 600 teachers in the district, so when their salaries go up, there's an impact to the expenses, which includes their salaries, their benefits, and everything else. So we have to take all that into consideration. The scoreboard is like anything else in this district with all of our facilities. We maintain them at a level of pride, and we are very frugal in how we go about spending. This board, which is basically 0.0009% of the budget, amortized over 15 years, will cost us about $10,000 a year. And it's a piece of equipment that is needed. It's no different than any other equipment that we replace on a 20-year plan. So it's, again, I mean, if you're advocating that we don't purchase equipment, that's your prerogative, but we look at all this very closely. Mr. Hunter's putting together phase 2 of our 20-year planning, which has a very detailed replacement strategy for everything in the district, including wiring and elevators and roofs and chillers. And so these are all the things that fall under our facilities, and that's just one aspect. A few years ago, we had to returf the field. I wasn't happy about that, but it's something that had to be done. And it cost us close to $500,000. These are the things that, unfortunately, to keep these buildings and these facilities at a level of where they're at, basically, it costs money. So if we want to start degrading the district and not spending money on things that are broken or are out of end of life, then we most certainly could do that. But that basically makes no sense to go and utilize a strategy like that. But in a greater scheme of a $169 million budget, when you have over 1,000 employees, and you look at, and we're very tight on our annual increases for employees and their benefits and what we negotiate over the years. So this is just, unfortunately, the cost of doing business in Springford. And I would more than welcome anyone here this evening that would like to come to a finance meeting and challenge any expenditure. And I would love that opportunity to sit down and have you explain where we could cut and why we should cut. But keep in mind, if we're going to start making decisions based on one thing because, well, you don't feel that that's necessary, then we have to use that same strategy across the board. So when we lose a chiller, we could sit there and say, well, we don't necessarily need that chiller because it's not going to be a cold year or a warm year. I mean, it's just a philosophy that doesn't make any sense.
Just to clarify, I wasn't commenting on the necessity of the sign. I was commenting on the timing of announcing it when you're announcing a tax increase. That's really what I was saying.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think just for your own knowledge, it is being paid out of our capital reserve. So the way we work is that we replenish year over year so that when items do age out and require replacement, the money can be utilized from that. So it doesn't directly impact our tax.
But capital reserves come from taxpayers.
Yes, they do.
So
I'm saying
it's
that
ultimately
this is not
from the
a-
taxpayers.
No, but that affects the timing of when we have to
I understand that.
Right, and we
I do
can't
understand that.
really afford to.
It was about messaging for me. It really was.
I hear what you're saying. I also think we went green, so now we put our board agenda up on the screen for everybody. So it's difficult to if you don't print it out ahead of time, or if you don't have your laptop with you to actually go through and look at the millions of dollars we just approved for special education costs, other items. So the scoreboard, I think, was discussed at that meeting, but there's also millions of other dollars of items that are would also have just gone through and been approved that maybe didn't get as much recognition because it wasn't, we didn't have a discussion about it. But for some reason that just got jumped on, and now it's like this big, discussion point.
Okay.
Any other comment? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Meeting adjourned.